Welcome again to the second lecture of electronic commerce. In this lecture we are going to discuss about electronic commerce infrastructure. So it has 5 layers. So we are going to discuss one by one. The first layer is national information infrastructure. This layer is the bedrock of electronic commerce because all traffic must be transmitted by one or more of the communication networks comprising the national information infrastructure known as NII. The components of an NII include the TV and radio broadcast industries, cable TV, telephone networks, cellular communication systems, computer networks, and the internet. The trend in many countries is to increase competition among the various elements of the NII to increase its overall efficiency because it is believed that an NII is critical to the creation of national wealth. Second is the message distribution infrastructure. This layer consists of software for sending and receiving messages. Its purpose is to deliver a message from a server to a client. For example, it could move an HTML file from a web server to a client running Netscape messages can be unformatted, example email, or formatted, example purchase order. Electronic data interchange known as EDI. Email and hypertext transfer protocol known as HTTP are the examples of messaging software. Electronic publishing infrastructure concerned with the content. The web is a very good example of this layer. It permits organization to publish a full range of text in multimedia. There are 3 key elements of the web. A uniform resource locator known as URL, which is used to uniquely identify any server. Then we have a network protocol, and lastly a structure markup language. It can be HTML, XML to support that. Notice that the electronic publishing layer is still concerned with some of the issues solved by TCP/IP for the internet part of the national information infrastructure layer. There is still a need to consider addressability, that can be a URL and have a common language across the network. For that we have HTTP and HTML. However, these are built upon the previous layer in the case of a URL or at a higher level in the case of HTML. Business services infrastructure. The principal purpose of this layer is to support common business processes. Nearly every business is concerned with collecting payment for the goods and services itself. Thus, the business service layer supports secure transmission of credit card numbers by providing encryption and electronic funds transfer. Furthermore, the business services layer should include facilities for encryption and authentication. And last, we have electronic commerce application. Finally, on the top of all the other layers sits an application. Consider the case of a bookseller with an online catalog. The application is book catalog. Encryption is used to protect a customer's credit card number. The application is written in HTML. HTTP is the messaging protocol, and the internet physically transport messages between the bookseller and the customer. So this is how the e-commerce infrastructure is being divided, and how the information goes from one layer to the end of the application. So how the communication is being done in those e-commerce applications. Now we are going to discuss, okay, before going to another topic, that are electronic commerce topologies. So here are some examples that in national information infrastructure we have internet, messaging distribution infrastructure we have HTTP, electronic publishing infrastructure we have HTML, for business service infrastructure we have encryption of data, and on the application part it can be a book catalog or whatever the e-commerce business that you are going to deploy. Now we are going to discuss about e-commerce topologies. There are three types of communication network used for electronic commerce. Depending on whether the intent is to support cooperation with a range of stakeholders, cooperation among employees, or cooperation with a business partner. Each of these topologies is briefly described as we discuss how they can be used to support electronic commerce. So for that, we need to understand the extent and focus of those topologies. So now let's go deeper into those topologies. First is the internet, which is a global network of networks. Any computer connected to the network can communicate with any server in the system. Thus, the internet is well suited to communicate with a wide variety of stakeholders. For example, Adobe, it uses its website to distribute software changes to customers and provide financial and other reports to investors. Many organizations have realized that internet technology can also be used to establish an intra-organizational network that enables people within the organization to communicate and cooperate with each other. For that, we call it as intranet, that is essential part that is fenced off mini internet within an organization. A firewall is used to restrict access so the people outside the organization cannot access the intranet. While an internet may not directly facilitate cooperation with external stakeholders, its ultimate goal is to improve an organization's ability to serve these stakeholders. The internet and intranet, as the names imply, are networks. This is an array of computers can connect to each other. In some situations, however, an organization may want to restrict connection capabilities. An extranet is designed to link a buyer and supplier to facilitate greater coordination of common activities. The idea of an extranet uh, derives from the notion that each business has a value chain and the end point of one firm's chain links to the beginning of another. Internet technology can be used to support communication and data transfer between two value chains. Communication is confined to the computer linking the two organizations. An organization can have multiple extranet to link it with many other organizations, but each extranet is specialized to support partnership cooperation. The economy is gained from low-cost internet software and infrastructure mean many more buyers and supplier pairs can now cooperate electronically. The cost of linking using internet technology is an order of magnitude lower than using commercial communication networks for electronic data interchange. The traditional approach for electronic cooperation between business partners. So now you get the idea on how the internet, extranet and internet works together in order to form the electronic commerce topology. So when we look at the extent of internet, intranet and extranet, for internet it should be global. Internet works in an organizational manner, and when we talk about extranet, it works with business partnerships. When we talk about focus, for internet it focuses on the stakeholders relationship. In internet, employee information and communication is a key role playing thing when we talk about intranet. For extranet, the distribution channel communication is the main focus area that we rely on when we talk about all those three topologies. Thanks for listening.